Okay, in this lecture I want to cover some of the basic things that you need to understand to get up and running with Linux. So I just powered on the Linux box and I'm at the login screen. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the username that I created when I was installing the operating system. I'll type in the password. So now we're presented with a little welcome screen, and it gives us a brief overview of the system, system load, memory usage, how many processes are running, for example. And then it gives you a list of all the packages that can be updated, and we'll get more into that later. Okay, so we've learned how to log in. Now let's learn how to log out. So to do that, you simply type log out. Takes you right back to the login screen, okay? And the next thing that we need to cover is basic navigation of the file system. Now, you can see here where my cursor is where I can type. This is where I type commands. Okay, so I spelled commands wrong, that's fine. This little line right here, we can see Paul H, that's our username, and then we see @userver, which is the name of this local system. Then we have a colon and the little tilde squiggly line. Now that means you are currently in your home directory, okay? The $sign means you're logged into a regular user account. If you see the hashtag or #, that means you're logged into an administrator or root account. Okay, so we are at the home directory and then we're ready to type. So the first thing we need to do is learn how to change our current directory. And to do that, we use cd. So if I want to go up one directory, I can just type in cd ... and that'll take me back one directory. Now it looks like we've gone further than where we were before because it was just a squiggly line, but that's just a shortcut for home. All right, so if we hit cd again and go back, now we're at the root of our file system. So let's go ahead and type in ls, and that's going to list our current directory. And we can also type ls-a and view all the hidden files. But for most people and most of our purposes, we won't be using -a. We're just going to be using ls. So let's go ahead and go back to our home profile, but without the shortcut. So our home profile is located under home. So type in cd and then home, and you can type in part of the file or folder name and press tab, and it'll complete it for you. So press enter. Now we're under home. Type ls again. And we can see the Paul H folder. So let's type in cd pa, and I'm just going to press tab, and it's going to auto-complete that for me. Press enter. And now you can see it changed the path to the little squiggly line. So if I want to jump right back to the home folder, I can just type in /, and now I'm at the root directory. So this is the highest possible point you can go to in the file system. Now let's just browse under, let's see, lib64. Let's do lib64. I'm going to type ls and see what's under here. Okay, there's not much, so we'll go back one directory. ls again. Let's go under etc. So etc ls cd. Let's go. See the blue names that you see here are folders. Okay, and the white are files. So let's try and go under default. Okay, ls again. And you can see how the path is starting to fill out after the colon. So we're under etc/default. And all we have is files under here. So let's just go back to the root directory. And let's go ahead and go back to our home profile. So just type in cd and then the squiggly button. It's right before 1 on my keyboard, and it's right above tab and below escape. Okay, so now we're back to our home directory. If we hit ls here, we can see that there's nothing in here. But if we do ls-a, we can see there's hidden files here. Okay, now what if we wanted to look at something that we had presented on the screen before? For example, let's go to cd and do /, that means our root directory. Then we're going to go to etc/default, and I'm going to hit tab to autocomplete. And let's say, okay, so we're here. Let's type in the command cat, and then let's use the file ssh. So cat basically means echo out the contents of the SSH file. Okay, so we'll press enter. And we can see there's a couple lines in there, nothing major. But what if we found a longer file? Let's do locale, sorry. Okay, that's not very long. Need to find something that is a little bit, let's try grub. There we go. Okay, so we can see that we echoed out the contents of the file, but it's rather long and it goes past the top of our screen. So if you hold left shift and page up, it doesn't matter if it's left shift or right shift, you can hold shift and page up, and you can go up to the previous pages. So if I keep pressing this, it'll take us all the way back to when we logged in. See, now we can see the welcome message. So if I hit page down, it'll start taking us through all the commands that we were typing, all of our history, and we'll eventually end up back down to the bottom. Now, there's another way you can go through your command history, and hit the up arrow and down arrow. So if I go, that was the last command that I typed in, was cat locale. So if I go up again, cat SSH, and we can just keep pressing the up arrow and navigating through these previous commands that we typed. Now we can go backwards, so we can go forwards. We can go backwards in history. We can come forwards in history. So you can kind of toggle between the two if you'd like. Okay, it's another nice little thing it's useful. Now, what if we want to have a clean screen, because all this information is kind of confusing. So if I just type in clear, it'll get rid of all the information. We haven't done any file operations. Nothing's been changed on the system, but the terminal's a lot easier to read. So if I list out, say, I have a ton of commands and it's just not easy to read what I'm looking at, I can just type in clear and let's say ls again, and everything's easy to see again. Okay, so clear is definitely a command that you want to keep in memory. Now, the last thing that I want to show you real quick is let's learn how to shut down the system. And to do that, you just type in shutdown and you type when you want to shut down, and I'm going to say now. But first I want it to reboot, so I'm going to type in -r. And if you're ever confused on what the commands do, just type in the command and you can do --help. Okay, and we'll hold shift and page up to look at all these, and we can see under options it says -r to reboot after shutdown. Okay, so anytime you're typing a command, if you want to know what cat does, do cat -help, and it gives you all this information. Where am I? I think I went up too far. So we can see it tells you exactly what the command does, what all the options are, etc. So let's type in shutdown -r, and then we're going to say now. So it's going to restart right now. Okay, now it's saying we need to be root, and this is the most important thing that I want to cover in this lecture. In order to do certain actions, you need to use what's called sudo, and sudo is like the Windows equivalent of administrative privileges or user account control, saying, yes, are you sure you want to do this? So what we need to do is type in sudo. Actually, I'm going to hit the up arrow so I don't have to retype all of that, and I'm just going to prefix it with sudo. That's going to ask me for my sudo password. Now, the password is just my user account password because I am an administrator on the system, and I'll press enter, and it went really fast, but it said, okay, we're shutting it down now, and now it's starting to reboot. So sudo, if you ever get to when you're trying to make a change or do something and it says, oops, access denied, run it as sudo. Just type in sudo before the command, and 9 times out of 10 it'll work for you. So I'm going to log back in, and I'm going to show you how to permanently change to sudo. So if I just type in sudo, it gives us, the list of commands, different options that we can do. But if I do sudo su, that means switch to sudo. Su stands for switch user. So if I do sudo su, it's going to ask me for my password, and then it's going to call me root. Okay, see how it says, before it said Paul H at userver, now it says root at userver. So if I want to shut down the server and do -r and say now, it's not gonna say permission denied. I don't have to type the word sudo anymore because I'm operating as root, so it will not ask me to elevate my permissions or anything. So when I press enter, okay, so it's starting to shut down, and there we go. So that's a quick kind of overview of Linux and the different commands. It's a lot more, it's a lot less easy to navigate and pick up than Windows, but the field definitely pays more, I would say. So check the resources of this lecture because I'm including a PDF file for you with all these commands in it. Just the top 30 or so commands that I think are the most important for you to know. So print that out, and I will see you in the next lecture.